All right. Uh, your freedom number. So, if you remember, and I think we talked about this briefly, but I added to it. So, if you remember, we talk about different ways that we could make a business. Like we had that brainstorm a little bit. But then you want to calculate what's your freedom number. And basically, the freedom number is the amount of monthly income you need to cover all your essential expenses and desired lifestyle, allowing you to live independently without relying on a traditional job or external support. Here's a step-by-step guide. So in here, I actually mixed a little bit of the concepts, and I'm gonna explain why. So, uh, so, so let's begin with something. First, you need to have an objective of how do you want to get to that freedom number. Meaning, there is a possibility that you want to get to the freedom number because let's say that you want to quit your job, or let's say that you want to, be able to work on your own terms, like you don't have enough vacations, or you want to move places, you want to be like, you want to be living here and then in another week living somewhere else, and so you want to get to that freedom number. um, but there's going to be, different definitions of when. I i think this is a very personal step for me. I mean, first of all, and again, I will like to share something here, that it's very important that as you are speaking and doing these exercises, you might be coming up with limiting beliefs. If you remember BS, so a lot of BS is gonna come your way. So I'm gonna tell you what I'm thinking about freedom number, while at the same time I will call BS whenever I'm seeing it. It's kind of like adding the bleep to the sentences that you're speaking, because while we're doing the exercise, we want to grow and transform, right? So this is not going to make a lot of sense if you haven't done, even if, I know I talk a lot about Kabbalah 1, but if you haven't done Kabbalah 1, like a lot of things are not going to make sense. But so just try to take my word for it. Like how we're doing everything, it's really the intent, and again, for me, to kind of like reveal our highest self or our soul purpose. So every single action that we're doing, how we are being a parent, how we are being a friend, a partner, how we are generating our sustenance, all of those ways, there is a way of just doing it for the action. And then there is the way that while we are doing it, while we're kind of like playing that through that illusion of I need to make money, I'm also revealing aspects of my soul. So it's going to be very different, like even though I have that, I was going to say something, for example, that I'm older. So it's going to be different for me than for someone that's younger. So I can call BS. The number one BS I can say is like, it's not really about age. Again, like time is a construct of the illusion, like time and space. It's really a construct. It doesn't mean anything, and we've seen all the stories of, like the KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken person, like many people that they were not necessarily great before, like they actually did it when they were older. So that doesn't really matter. And for me, that I have taken Kabbalah 1, like I know there is even a deeper spiritual concept of why time doesn't exist, but it's one of my beliefs. So I can take number of that. Now, I'm not necessarily buying into them. I'm just explaining that for me, and this is very weird, because a lot of these exercises seem that we are doing to take a little bit of control. And in all reality, we could have like absolute, like we could just have absolute certainty. For me, it's just, I'm not going to get caught up in the details of this. I just want to have an idea, right? I want to have an idea. And I think it's actually going to be way easier than what we think. We need to start feel, for me, I also want to start to feel comfortable with that number. Like, if I didn't care about anything else, like if I would actually go ahead and cancel all of my subscriptions and just keep whatever like help me in my current job, like I could do that and be okay with that. But I want something more. I want to do something more. I want to reveal this. So um, the idea of getting to a freedom number is basically because you're gonna know that once you hit that, you can dedicate more into the business. Like again, and this is not necessarily for everyone. There might be people that they are already doing um, something to keep the business and have the business as their only or main source of income. If you are there, it's a good idea anyways to think what is your freedom number, because you might want to say, yep, my business is doing great, but I mean, it's not that I'm living here, it's not that I'm traveling X, it's not that I get this that I want to get. So it's good that you do the exercise so that you know where are you targeting. For me, and I added here as much as I could, like as much detail, but for me mainly, it's about housing, utilities, groceries and household, transportation, insurance, healthcare, family and childcare, personal discretionary, giving and donations, and savings and investments. So I would say for me right now, I do need to consider in personal discretionary. I have something that I need to consider my immigration expenses that I need to, if I would if I were to stop my 9 to 5, I would need to consider that because my company, I mean, I don't know, but like again, I would need to consider that. So it's just an idea of how you can do it. So there is a concept that you need to be aware of, and that's adjusting for taxes. Most likely, if you have now a job, typically they take care of taxes for you. So basically, I don't know how it works, but at least in 3 countries that I work, I actually potentially get money back from taxes, but to begin with, I'm taking more taxes away, so I don't need to pay taxes. Um, so I don't need to consider that. If I am making $5 a month, that's it. I already pay my taxes. I don't need to worry about that. But it might not be your case. And if you have a business, that's going to be different because first we're going to make the money and then we're going to need to pay the taxes. So just make sure that when you're doing it, you have allocated money for taxes. Um, so for example, for me here in Canada, if I need $6,000 a month and my effective tax rate is 25, I need to make $8,000. And I would actually recommend that I can like separate that as much as I would separate savings. Um, I would say one thing, just try not to do it from lack, meaning don't try to say, okay, I need to put away because I know that later. Again, it depends on what your goal is. But for me, but for me, that if you're gonna be able to have more time to do what you love and you're able to get or to contribute to that number just working perhaps a couple of hours or 4 hours a day versus a full time, that's a very big indication that if you can get away from that, even if you're not adding a lot to personal, to travel, to any type of luxury, um, you can X time it versus in a job that it's very stable. Again, just make sure that you're connecting with your BS. Now, if it's a business that you already have, yes, you might want to consider upgrades. And it might be even that you have a passion, like you want to keep your job. Like for instance, me, I actually like my job, so I can keep my job, but make sure that I'm doing something that I'm very passionate about, and I might be able to just do it on the weekends, right? And that could be a side hustle. So It depends. So um, it's just very important. Call BS when you need to. Okay. So with that, we're gonna go in the next video into how to get to your freedom number, and in here we're gonna speak about business concepts. So